Players who possess great stamina and work hard are becoming more and more valuable nowadays, as they are every coach's dream amid the frantic schedule of modern football. Such players rarely get recognized as football stars, but their contribution to the team's success is no less important. So today, we would like to tell you about the top hard workers of modern-day football. But first, we would like you to answer our question. Which one of these footballers has played the most minutes in the league so far this season? Luka Modric, Gabriel Magalhães, Marcelo Brozovic, Alphonso Davies? Please leave your answers in the comments. And now we begin. Alexander Zinchenko. The Ukrainian, more used to playing in the midfield in those days, joined Manchester City in 2016. The newly appointed City manager Josep Guardiola considered Zinchenko not fit for the Premier League at that point, so the Ukrainian was loaned out to PSV Eindhoven, but only played 12 matches in the Eredivisie that season. So when Zinchenko came back to Man City, it didn't look like he had a future at the club. After all, how was he supposed to play in the Premier League after he had failed at PSV? But Zinchenko had an answer to that. It was hard work that silenced all his doubters in the end, as he managed to impress Guardiola with his hard work ethics and football intelligence. So the manager decided to give the Ukrainian a chance, though as a left-back. With time, Zinchenko's playing time and influence increased, as his quality and his spirit made him one of the dressing room leaders. All in all, the Ukrainian made 128 appearances for City in all competitions and won 4 Premier League titles. In the 2021 season, Manchester City reached the Champions League final and Alexander was included in the starting lineup, but unfortunately for him, it was Chelsea who won it. Last summer, Zinchenko and Manchester City parted ways, as the Ukrainian moved to Arsenal with none other than Mikel Arteta in charge, Guardiola's former assistant, who knew well what kind of player Zinchenko was. At Arsenal, Alexander only got better, while the Gunners are now really close to winning the long-awaited Premier League title, which has a lot to do with Zinchenko's impact, as such a tireless player is a huge benefit to any team. Should we remember him at the age of 19, when he just came to the Premier League, we can't help but admire his progress and the amount of work he has put into growing from not the most talented young player into a world-class one. Jesus Navas. Jesus Navas and Zinchenko have more in common than meets the eye. The Spaniard, who was already a World Cup and Euro winner back in the early 2010s, could have easily moved to a bigger club, but his homesickness was why he was so reluctant to leave Sevilla. In the end though, Jesus left the country as he was signed by Manchester City with Manuel Pellegrini in charge. The winger's explosive pace was quite a problem for Premier League defenders, along with his crosses, while apart from that he was of much use in defense too, and the key for that was his outstanding work rate. In 2017, Navas moved to the right-back position by Guardiola, left Man City after having won the Premier League and 2 FA Cups as he returned to Sevilla, the team he is still playing for, at the age of 37. The Sevilla captain to this day remains one of the most hard-working players in the league. Since his return, Jesus has won the Europa League and had a number of Champions League campaigns. The Spaniard's contract is ending at the end of this season, but we may expect Sevilla to offer him a new one. After all, his energy and leadership are surely worth it. Cesar Azpilicueta. Cesar Azpilicueta moved to Stamford Bridge from Marseille in summer 2012, right after the Blues had won the Champions League. This signing cost Chelsea €8.8 million, and few would have thought that Cesar would stay at the club for so long. Back in his first season at Chelsea, Azpilicueta didn't start that many games until Rafael Benitez rewarded his hard work on the training ground and offered him another chance. Then Jose Mourinho took over, who didn't trust the Spaniard as much as he trusted Branislav Ivanovic. But when the first-choice left-back Ashley Cole got an injury, Mourinho's decision was to use Azpilicueta, a nominal right-back, on the left, and surprisingly the Spaniard did really well, as he amazed everyone with his work rate. Jose Mourinho was probably the one most impressed, as he once said, Give me 11 Azpilicuetas and I will surely win the Champions League. Then, ahead of the 2016-17 season, Antonio Conte took over, and the Italian found a new role for Cesar yet again. He was moved to the centre-back position, while Chelsea switched to a 3 at the back formation. And once again, Azpilicueta did what was expected from him, while that season was marked by the Premier League title, the second, and as for now, the last for Cesar. When Gary Cahill left the club in 2019, Azpilicueta was made Chelsea captain. A bit later, the 33-year-old defender added yet another trophy to his collection, as Thomas Tuchel led Chelsea to the Champions League victory. Throughout that European campaign, the Blues only conceded 4 goals, thus setting a record. Though Azpilicueta has now lost his place in the first 11, his influence in the dressing room is what still remains. His contract lasts until next summer, but the Spaniard is reported to have his eyes set on moving to Barca, and should he do so, he will have a decent chance of relaunching his career in the league of much less intensity. Dear friends, before we go on, we'd like you to help us gain 5,000 followers. If you like our videos, please leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget to tap the bell button so that you don't miss our next video. Luka Modric. In 2008, the Croatian left his home country as he was signed by the Premier League side Tottenham. Luka's work rate was what the English fans noticed from day one. He never stopped improving and led the Spurs to the Champions League finish in 2010. By the end of the 11-12 season, another London club, Chelsea, was trying to sign Modric, as the Croatian even took a ride on Abramovich's yacht. The Chelsea owner was doing his best to persuade Luka to join Chelsea, but Tottenham were too reluctant to let their leader join their rivals, so in the end, a year later, Modric finally moved to Real Madrid. The first season at Santiago Bernabeu was one Modric would like to forget, as he even was named the worst signing of the summer 2012 in La Liga. But time showed that the media shouldn't have rushed to conclusions. In the following season, Modric made it into the first 11, and Real Madrid at last won the Champions League. And that was just the beginning, as Luka got recognized as one of the best midfielders in the world, while Los Blancos won 4 more Champions League trophies. In 2018, after Croatia had reached the World Cup final for the first time in their history, and Real Madrid won yet another Champions League, Modric won the Ballon d'Or after 10 years of Ronaldo and Messi's dominance. The World Cup in Qatar was also quite a success for the 37-year-old veteran, as Croatia won the bronze medals. Luka's contract with Real Madrid is ending in a couple of months, and we're yet to see if the club will offer him a new one. As for now, though, the Croatian has surely got what it takes to perform for Real Madrid. Nacho Fernandez. The Real Madrid Academy product has spent all his playing career at the club. Nacho has been playing for Real Madrid since he was first promoted from Castilla, which is quite an achievement for any player. Nacho's determination, loyalty and work rate is what made it possible. The Spaniard's dedication on the training ground is what helps him maintain his form amid the lack of playing time. Once Nacho is to replace one of his teammates in the first 11, he never looks like a footballer who lacks sharpness. The first leg of the recent Liverpool Champions League tie was a prime example of it. The Spaniard came in as a sub instead of David Alaba and at once brought the much-needed solidity to Real Madrid's defense, so that Los Blancos made a comeback and obtained a decisive 5-2 victory. Since then, Nacho has had a bit more trust from Carlo Ancelotti, but his contract is ending this summer. The 33-year-old defender is thinking about changing clubs so that he can have more playing time, but is yet to make his decision. James Milner. The 37-year-old Englishman has been playing in the Premier League for 21 consecutive seasons, since he made his debut with Leeds United back in 2003. His club got relegated at the end of that season, so James, unwilling to go down to the Championship, left Leeds for Newcastle. There was also a spell at Aston Villa later, and in 2010, Milner was signed by the Manchester City Sheiks. It's not like the Englishman was irreplaceable at City, but he was always giving his all for the pitch, the hard-working one, to stop the star attackers. But the stars kept coming, so Milner had to watch them play from the bench more and more often. In the end, in summer 2015, after having won 2 Premier League titles, James Milner left Man City and joined Liverpool as a free agent. He was about to hit 30 at that moment, so nobody really expected much from this signing. But Milner still managed to surprise everyone. Once Jurgen Klopp took over, it was the beginning of the Englishman's second youth, as the new manager unleashed his incredible versatility. After he had only played as a winger, Klopp reinvented James Milner as a centre midfielder and as a fullback as well. It's been 8 years since Milner joined Liverpool, and he has won all the possible trophies with the club. James still has more than enough energy to be of use as a rotational player, so Liverpool are considering offering the 37-year-old player a new contract next summer, once his current one expires. Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino made a name for himself while playing for the Bundesliga side Hoffenheim, where he spent 5 years. The Brazilian had already been known as a technically gifted player of great creativity when he made the next step in his career, as he was signed by Liverpool in 2015. While he was more used to playing as a attacking midfielder at Hoffenheim, Jurgen Klopp used the Brazilian as a false nine, the role that highlighted Firmino's skills on and off the ball. Though Roberto was scoring much less than Salah and Mane, it was the Brazilians' efforts that made it possible for them to score all those goals. His responsibility was to drop deeper and make defenders follow him, thus creating space for his teammates so that they could make attacking runs. Jurgen Klopp has always been ready to highlight the Brazilians' influence. He is the best offensive defender I ever saw in my life, a very important player for us. He's a ball chaser, incredibly smart tactically and able to play in the tiniest spaces to make good decisions in really quick time. Firmino's Liverpool spell has brought him all kinds of team trophies, as now he's up to a new challenge once his contract expires this summer. But will his next club be European, or will he move to another continent? That is something we can't tell just yet. Antoine Griezmann. The Frenchman's career was on the rise since he moved from Real Sociedad to Atletico Madrid in 2014. Under Diego Simeone, Griezmann turned into a prolific striker, able to score 20+ goals per season. The 2015-16 season was probably the peak of his career, though unfortunately it ended without a single trophy. First, Griezmann had to lose the Champions League final with Atletico, and weeks later, the home Euro with France. The striker stayed at Atletico and remained one of the team's leaders, but in 2019 everything changed. It was when Antoine decided to make a change and moved to Barcelona. At that point, Griezmann was already a World Cup winner, though the former hype was no longer there. And the move to Barcelona only made things worse for Griezmann. After 2 poor seasons, the Frenchman couldn't take it anymore as he wanted back. He got what he wanted. First, he was loaned out to Atletico, and then, last summer, the club made a deal permanent. We must admit, however, that Griezmann's playstyle has drastically changed in recent years. While he was a prime example of a centre-forward back in the days, now he drops very deep and makes a much more all-round contribution to the team's football. While playing for the national team in Qatar, Antoine was actually more of a defense-minded midfielder. His tireless pressing and the number of tackles and interceptions were the reason why the former goalscorer was being compared to N'Golo Kanté. But despite his role change, Griezmann still remains an attacking threat with 11 goals and 8 assists in La Liga so far this season. However, his impact still remains underrated by many. If you'd like to know more about other underrated footballers, why not check our recent video about those who deserve way more recognition than they're getting. And now to the next one. Marquinhos. The Brazilian was introduced to big football in the early 2010s while playing for Roma. After only 1 season in Italy, the 19-year-old Marquinhos was signed by a bigger club. That was PSG. The Brazilian didn't take long to adapt to the new league, as he soon formed a defensive duo with his compatriot Thiago Silva. Though Marquinhos came to PSG at such a young age, his amazing maturity, work rate and versatility made him an important part of the team in his first season in Paris. Apart from the centre-back position, he could also play on the right and as a holding midfielder. The Brazilian has been the embodiment of a hard worker, the one to give his all while also giving instructions to partners in the meantime. Marquinhos' influence at the club was so notable that after Thiago Silva left PSG, it was him to be named the new captain. The Brazilian is now only 28 years old, but he already has 10 seasons for the Parisians under his belt, as he's currently the third in terms of appearances for PSG and needs to play only 39 more games to set the new record, so it will probably happen next season. However, the current number 2 in the list is Marco Verratti, who has 10 more appearances than Marquinhos and remains a PSG player as well. N'Golo Kanté. The Frenchman's breakthrough happened in the 2015-16 season, the season marked with Leicester's miraculous Premier League victory. It was then when N'Golo Kanté, who came from Caen, became one of the Premier League stars, playing in midfield and terrorizing his opponents with pressing in numerous tackles and interceptions. Once Claudio Ranieri's side won the title, as you would expect, big clubs came for Leicester's leaders, and Kanté was signed by Chelsea, where he showed more of the same under Antonio Conte. The Frenchman's outstanding determination and work rate amazed everybody, including his teammates, as Eden Hazard once said, "I think sometimes when I'm on the pitch I see him twice, one on the left, one on the right. I think I'm playing with twins." In his debut season for Chelsea, Kanté won his second Premier League title in a row and maintained his high level of performance afterwards. In 2018, he was a key player for the World Cup winning France side, but going back to his club achievements, we must mention the Champions League won by Chelsea in 2021, which was probably the best tournament in Kanté's career. At that point, there were rumors about Kanté winning the Ballon d'Or, though for that he needed to win Euro 2020 with France. Unfortunately, that was not meant to be, as France didn't make it that time. This season, Kanté has hardly played a game due to the injury he got last summer, and then it's relapsed. It looks like the Frenchman's body has had enough of all the stress. However, Kanté is determined to bounce back after the surgery he underwent, while Chelsea have already offered a new contract to the 32-year-old N'Golo. The Blues don't seem to be bothered much by the player's age and injury proneness. Cristiano Ronaldo. The 5 times Ballon d'Or winner is now recognized as one of the greatest. 5 Champions League titles, 7 domestic league titles, Euro 2016 victory, and many individual records. All these achievements were the consequence of Cristiano's massive ambitions. For long years, Ronaldo has been following his strict diet and enhanced training regime, which allows him to be in great shape even at the age of 38. However, he never looks the most hardworking one on the pitch, as many tend to criticize Cristiano for his lack of pressing and overall defensive involvement. On the other hand, the fact is that the Portuguese managed to score 18 goals in the most demanding league in the world at the age of 37. Cristiano's attacking performance has always been enough to make up for any defensive flaws, as it made him Real Madrid's best ever scorer with 450 goals. Ronaldo is currently playing for Al Nassr, the Saudi Arabian club that pays as much as 200 million euros per year. But even in Saudi Arabia, the Portuguese stays true to himself, as he has scored 11 goals and made 2 assists in 10 league games so far. Of course, that doesn't sound that impressive after all his previous goal-scoring achievements, but nevertheless, the Portuguese remains a model professional as he maintains his fitness levels and will most likely play for Portugal at Euro 2024, which is to take place in Germany. In summer 2024, Ronaldo will be 39 years old, but we know him well enough not to have any doubts about his shape and his motivation. It's incredibly hard to maintain a high level of work ethics in football, as not only it requires the right attitude, but the right genetics as well. Dear friends, which one of our today's heroes do you consider the most hardworking? Let us know in the comments, please. See you soon.